welcome to the Grand Prix Vancouver Quarterfinals. We're down to 8 players, and we're going to watch 2 of them here at Dan Lanthier, former Canadian national champion, with his Splinter twin deck, taking on Platinum Pro Tom Martell, who is on the draw here, but does have the Noble Hierarch to maybe turn things around with his Infect deck.
It looks like Tom also on the mulligan here. He has exactly 7 cards.
Aha, yeah. Martell did, in fact, mulligan down to 6.
So did Dan.
Oh, so did Dan. Fair enough.
Dan
I see a Splinter twin. Oh, he's got the whole combo?
He's got the whole combo. Does he have a 4th land? I'm not sure I saw that. It looks like he might have some redundancy in the combo even.
Even the combo, though, is not always fast enough. The Infect deck is capable of a turn 3 kill.
Right, and the Infect deck also capable of interacting with the combo through a couple of cards. Spellskite and Vines of the Vastwood can prevent that Splinter twin from landing on the creature.
And Vines of the Vastwood is exactly what Tom Martell drew that turn. Has an Ink Moth Nexus, and is this going to be Wild Defiance?
Looks like he's going to cast Wild Defiance. He may be on the let me attack you with my Noble Hierarch plan here. Although he has an Ink Moth Nexus.
So yeah, no, Ink Moth Nexus is his Infect creature. Oh, Remand, sure.
One of the best Remand targets in the deck for...
Oh, absolutely. And that basically takes away Martell's turn 3 kills.
Right.
Like, he has to spend a mana to activate Ink Moth. It's really hard. I mean, I guess if you have enough mutagenic growths to fuel a Become Immense, anything's possible. But it's particularly going to be hard through a Pestermite.
Yeah, and so Lanthier, they're missing a red mana to be able to just play Pestermite and Splinter Twin.
Well, he probably should play it anyway, right?
He should probably play the Pestermite just to get it into play and force Tom's hand. And he can also, Tom here, he can play Vines of the Vastwood, but he has to leave a mana up. He has to leave 2 mana up because the Pestermite might tap him. So I think you might see Tom, he either has to play conservatively here and give Dan more time, or take a chance.
All right, 2nd Ink Moth. Ooh, Spellskite. Dan Lanthier cannot combo while Spellskite is in play. The Spellskite really likes to be enchanted by Splinter Twin. It's a big fan. Never actually happens, but he's been dreaming of it for years.
And here you see what's going to happen. Dan is going to play a Deceiver Exarch and untap his own island and then play that Spell Snare. And then he's going to be in a very, very commanding position.
Wow.
So he's missing the red mana, but Tom is not going to have a Spellskite. He's going to have to leave green mana up.
Yeah, for the Vines.
Or cross his fingers because,
Oh, he'll leave green mana up for the Vines. I mean, what else is he going to do? Attack for... I guess he can attack for 2?
He can attack for 2 Infect, and Dan has to show him both a red mana and a Splinter Twin to win next turn.
Do you think 2 poison tokens is worth taking your guard down, though?
It depends on how Tom wants to handle it. I think
I don't think he thought about it for very long.
Not going to leave himself
2 poison is not worth risking the combo.
This is a little crazy though. Dan, it looks like he has 2 Splinter Twins. So.
Yeah, he does. No 2nd red mana though.
He did draw Flame Slash.
He did draw Flame Slash. He can point that at Noble Hierarch. He's not going to be able to get an Ink Moth Nexus with it, so maybe it's either that or leave up Pestermite mana, because he's no 4th land full stop.
Right. And what he wants to do is set himself up to be able to use Twin if he draws the red mana. So maybe he waits and tries to Pestermite Tom's last green source.
Sure.
Of course, then if he doesn't draw the red mana.
Yeah, I don't think Flame Slash Noble Hierarch accomplishes enough here. I think I would leave up all 3 mana.
Well, Flame Slash Noble Hierarch does limit the number of green mana that Tom has available and slows him down.
But it means you're not playing your Pestermite.
Right.
And I mean, your Pestermite can tap, because Tom's only poison creatures are the Ink Moth Nexuses. Tom has to sink a mana into one of them, then you can Pestermite to tap it.
Right.
I mean, you sort of make him spend an extra mana that way.
Tom's drawn a Blighted Agent, so...
Interesting.
And it looks like he is missing a 4th land drop, not unusual for the Infect deck.
So if he taps Breeding Pool for Blighted Agent, then Pestermite can tap Noble Hierarch, meaning Vines of Vastwood shields will be down. And Lanthier will set himself up to win if he can top deck a red source. I don't know. I think that's how this plays. I think Tom should play the Blighted Agent. What's his other line? Tap Nexus to activate Nexus?
Yep, you can
Attack
do that.
for 2 while leaving up both green mana? That's actually not a bad line.
Yeah, and I think that's what he's going to end up doing here.
It is what he's going to end up
the
doing.
Same thing.
And now Dan can summon a Pestromite if he wants to avoid 2 poison counters.
But the other thing you can do is he can play the Pestromite, tapping a land for Tom, and simply block the Inkmoth Nexus and trade for it. Or force Tom to use one of his tricks.
Sure. All right, he does let the Inkmoth Nexus attack. Now, he could summon a Pestromite to block with. He's not going to.
Right.
Tom is content to deal 2 poison and pass with multiple green mana untapped. Man, Tom's played this game so smart.
Yep. He's not giving Dan the opening that he wants, and Dan needs a lot of things to go right now. Just draws another Exarch, not what he was looking for. Two Infect versus 1 damage is not
not a winning race.
Dan wants. Now, I kind of wonder why Dan didn't just stick that Pestromite on Tom's last end step, so now he could offer the block to an Inkmoth Nexus.
I think he was hoping for some future turn where Tom would tap down to 1 green mana.
Right.
I think he wanted to leave himself the ability to essentially force Tom to leave up both his colored mana sources if he wanted to play defense against the combo. Now that he's got both a Pestromite and an Exarch, it's a little less.
You'll probably see him make that play if it goes this
either
way.
End step, or I guess he's going to do this.
He's going to do it now.
Doesn't even want to let the
Now this is
Inkmoth
dangerous
attack.
because Tom can use an Apostle's Blessing to give his creature protection from blue, and then if he has, he's just he would need to have a couple of mutagenic growths to really punish him.
Yeah, Vines. Yeah,
He can still block.
It's hard.
Vines, so
we're inside combat, so it's not like he's gonna
play another land.
Yeah. Tom's thinking about this though. Lanthier is Pro Tour veteran in his own right. We talked about the Canadian National win. It's also, you see the face-to-face shirt, face-to-face sleeves.
He is a member of the Canadian.
Yeah, no, he's played his fair share of Pro Tours.
Tom does have a lot of cards in his hand.
Yeah.
You do see an Apostle's Blessing there.
What does that do here, though, right? Is it?
Well, if he has enough,
Wow, it's a lot of cards.
3 effects. So you will see Tom. He is going to play the Apostle's Blessing. It looks like. No, he's going to play Might of Old Krosa.
Interesting. Oh, Pestromite tapped Breeding Pool.
Aha.
Yeah, Pestromite tapped Breeding Pool. So Dan was planning to tap Breeding Pool and block.
Right.
Yeah.
And then hope that Tom uses a spell there to protect his Inkmoth Nexus, leaving him tapped
Which
out.
Tom basically has done, though, but he did it preemptively.
Right.
So that he could use the Breeding Pool mana. Got it. So Pestromite tapped Breeding Pool. Inkmoth Nexus is big enough to win a fight with a Pestromite.
And big enough to really put Dan in Infect trouble range.
True.
That's Inkmoth Nexus attack for 4 here.
Yeah, +2, +1 from the Exalted. 4/4 Inkmoth Nexus. It's effectively half of Dan's life total, or his Infect life total.
Right.
But now it's a chump from Pestromite. Maybe you do chump with Pestromite. He's got an Exarch in play. He's got another Exarch in his hand. And the value of this Pestromite is blocking some future Inkmoth Nexus.
And trading for it. But with Tom
hopefully.
having that many cards in hand, it seems like it's never going to get a chance to
And
trade.
Dan is just going to go ahead and block.
I think that's the correct
All
move.
right, and Tom once again gets to Dan's turn with a green mana untapped, available to use Vines of Vastwood to make that Deceiver Exarch into a creature that can only be targeted by Tom. It's so weird that green has this effectively a counterspell.
Right.
I feel like if R&D could go back, that's not quite how that card was supposed to work.
Right. You could have the creature gain hexproof instead. So
Exactly.
no owner could target it.
I believe that is how that card would get templated if it was printed today.
Okay. So
Well,
Dan's
what are you
found
going to
a
do? We
man.
play them the way they published them, right?
Exactly. It does make this matchup a little bit more interesting.
It does, actually. The card has some interesting gameplay. It's just kind of out of flavor for green is all.
So I think the play here for Dan might be just to flame slash the Hierarch. It denies Tom mana, or makes him use
And
one of
it
his
denies him an
spells.
Exalted trigger, which is not irrelevant.
Right.
Yeah, it looks like he agrees with you. And he's got Remand now, so,
Right,
he's
so-
able to effectively use 2 mana.
If Tom goes to his turn and tries some Become Immense tricks, he can remand that.
Tom thinking about this. He's got an Apostle's Blessing, I guess.
He does.
So he can tap the Hierarch for mana for Apostle's Blessing to defend itself.
Yep. And then, given his tight mana situation, it seems like that's probably the play
It's
to
not
make.
crazy. That is what he's going to do.
Tom paid some Phyrex mana, drops to 13 here, but still way ahead in the race.
Yeah. Marshall Sutcliffe, what's going on elsewhere in the feature
So
match
I've been
area?
keeping an eye on some of the other matches, and we've got one game finished so far. Robbie Schmidt with Affinity finishes off Jesse Moulton with his Abzan deck.
Okay.
He fired off a Galvanic Blast to finish off that game.
Sure.
Up one game. That's the only other result so far.
Not a big surprise there with Affinity taking down game
Affinity
1.
winning game 1. Yeah, that's the way it's supposed to go.
So this is actually quite interesting here. Dan remanded the Apostle's Blessing, did draw that red mana he's been looking for, went ahead and played it, so Tom knows that he got it. Doesn't know if he has the Splinter Twin or not. But Tom now, looking at just 1 mana on Dan's side and wondering if he has enough to kill him. Now, it would have to be a Become Immense and a Mutagenic Growth, because Tom doesn't appear to have another land. So he could animate Inkmoth Nexus. Oh, that would only be 7. No, that would be 9.
No, it's 9.
Because the Mutagenic
Growth.
2 more, yeah.
Become Immense by itself gets it to 7.
We know that Dan does not have a lightning bolt. Tom does not.
All true.
I think we'll see Tom.
I've got him on leaving green mana untapped.
Leaving green mana untapped, yeah. I think we'll see him hold
Chip
up.
away. It's only 1 now with the Ink Moth.
Now, do we know that he has a Vines of the Vastwood? Have you seen one in his hand?
I thought we did know that, yeah.
Right. From early on, we think he had one. So yeah, here comes the Inkmoth Nexus.
Let's get a Might of Volcrosa. I think he's got the Apostle's Blessing that we knew about that got remanded. Yeah, continues to leave that breeding pool untapped.
Yeah.
Dan's going to go get...
Now, the thing about this is Dan has 2 Splinter Twins. He can just target his Deceiver Exarch with the first one.
Sure. He can also
turn.
wait a turn and use his backup Deceiver Exarch to tap the only green mana source.
Right.
Like, I'm actually not sure which of those plays is better. I think it might be healthier to go
much better.
untapped to Tom's turn, Exarch the breeding pool, untap twin, rather than
Leave
tapping
himself
out for
open
twin.
to what Tom might do on his turn, yeah.
Marshall, you got more for us?
Yeah, I got another quick one here. Steven Speck, Amulet Specialist, defeats Alexander Hayne in the first game of their Amulet Mirror match. So he's
Okay.
up 1 game there.
So the GP
Turbo match is
Omaha runner-up?
ongoing, but I'm not giving you.
Yeah, I don't want turbo updates.
not giving you any of
No
that.
spoilers. So the Omaha finalist, Steven Speck, before the PT, been playing that since before the PT. Wow. Chicago area player.
So here you see Dan. He has is combo pieces over there, but the combo pieces in Splinter Twin can interact with your opponent. So he's looking pretty good right now. And he's going to make the same play that we're suggesting, which is you see him not play that 5th land right here. He wants Tom to play conservatively because he doesn't have actually instant to stop. And Inkmoth Nexus is just killing him with a Become Immense. That Noble Hierarch that was fought over really making a big difference right now.
Oh yeah. Dan would be on 4, taking 2 plus potentially 4.
And Tom would have an extra mana here to
Also true.
play defense with.
Distortion Strike, I think, was the draw from Tom.
I think so.
That takes colored mana. Yeah, activate Ink Moth. And there's no reason for Tom to change the way he's been playing this.
Right.
He's been leaving up green mana. He has been able to leave up green mana, and Dan hasn't done anything. Tom's still winning this race on board. And we know that Dan finally found the second red source and now has a backup Exarch. I don't think this game's going to end well for Tom, but
I think Dan has this right.
that doesn't mean Tom's done anything wrong.
No. The only thing I think he could have done better was draw another land.
Yeah, oh yeah, obviously. No, Tom, with the draw that he has, I feel like Tom has made this game last, what, 6 turns, 7 turns?
Right. With his opponent having the combo the whole time.
There you go. Tom scoops him up.
Well played on both sides, I think.
I agree. Tom chuckling a little bit to himself. I think the thing he's frustrated about is his draw.
Yep.
His deck just didn't deliver up a second colored land at any point.
Right. And, he actually made his first 3 land drops, which is somewhat unusual for Infect, but it wasn't quite enough for him there. He needed one more.
All right, both players looking at deck lists. We get to this point, rather than force the players to go scout their opponents by talking to common opponents or, phoning friends who are watching the stream at home, just share the deck lists. Makes it a lot easier. Everybody's got the same information. Ironically enough, the only people without deck lists now are us. Those are our deck lists they've got.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the ones we've been looking at. I think we're pretty familiar with what's in these 2 decks, though.
Yeah, I don't remember if either of them had anything special, any special sideboard tech for this match. It's the only thing I was wondering about.
There's going to be a lot of spell skites after sideboard, that's for sure.
Martell can get all the way to 4, and I'm sure he will.
And he can play Twisted Images, so he can get the read on how many Dan Lanthier is going to play, and then put those in. The other card that is big for Tom is Nature's Claim. It can both break up the combo by killing a Splinter Twin, or it can kill a
Spellskite.
I think you'll see Tom bring in both his Nature's Claims.
I guess I don't need deck lists if I got you sitting next to me.
Well, we were studying
exactly
these
right.
deck lists pretty closely before, and we were comparing those 2 in the Infect mirrors.
Right. Did you see Alexander Hayne is also between games? He's on the back table there.
Yep.
Hayne is down a game to Steven Speck.
You can see the big smile on Steven Speck's face. Being up a game in a very close mirror.
Big smile going back-to-back modern GP top 8s too.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That is quite good.
Yeah. We have a lot of repeat top 8ers here.
Hayne going back-to-back in Vancouver top 8s. I guess Pascal Maynard finally had his run end. The mere 13th place finish for him. He's definitely below his expectations lately. Sam Pardee put up a top 16 also. Paul Cheon put up a top 16.
Yeah, some of the names were.
I mean, the second 8, Kenji Egashiro, Paul Cheon, Pascal Maynard, Sam Pardee, Eugene Huang. That would have been a fine top 8.
Absolutely. Maybe we can do that one
This one's pretty good too.
Just switch to top 16 with these things. Around here.
I mean, how close has Kenji Egashira come to qualifying for the Pro Tour the last 2 weeks?
Oh God, that's got to be heartbreaking for him.
He misses this top 8 on breakers.
Yeah, and last week in a Moto PTQ, he was within a life point in game
1 life
3
point of game 3. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I knew he was streaming a PTQ top 8. I guess he had it on a delay so that he could watch on his stream, but his opponent couldn't watch.
Right.
Makes sense. Huge audience, right?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, he's very popular. So if he's having a big tournament like that, you can only imagine how those things go together,
Oh yeah. Game 3 of the finals.
Game 3 of the finals.
And 1 life point.
1 life point. That's how I understand. I didn't see it myself.
And then here he's, 1.8% points of opponent's match win away.
Right, and he's the only person on his point threshold not to make top 8. So
6 of the 7 made it in on 37 points.
It is hard to get in the Pro Tour,
It is.
It really is these days.
It's a true story.
It's just inches away, and
Kenji's never played one.
Right.
Never played a PT, but he's that close back-to-back weekends.
Yeah.
Sounds like somebody who's not going to be that long before he gets to play one, right?
I
you
saw
come
him
that close on
standing over
back-to-back
here
weekends.
afterwards, and he was smiling. He felt good about how he done, I think, and he also probably has a sense of humor about, sometimes you get close and miss, and there's a 9th place finisher at every tournament.
Yeah.
And a 2nd place finisher.
Honestly, I think also in his heart of hearts, Modern, he was going to qualify for his first Pro Tour playing Modern.
Didn't feel right.
Didn't feel right.
No.
I mean, playing Magic makes you good at playing Magic. I think that's a lot of what's going on, but certainly a guy who has spent most of his time playing Limited.
Yeah. You might think that a player who is used to playing Limited would play a deck more like Abzan, creatures and spells. No,
you didn't see did you see the way he was playing his twin deck though? I think he comboed off twice all day yesterday.
I saw him tweet.
Attack for one.
He said only 4 times yesterday.
It's just all about attacking with your 1/4s, right?
It works.
It is a lot about that. I mean, the fact that the deck can win without comboing off adds a lot of resiliency for sure.
Yeah, a lot of it is just the threat. Your opponent has to play very, very carefully against you. They have to play
that's what happened to Tom here, right?
Exactly.
The threat of the combo Tom, if he just deployed his threats going for kills,
right,
he would have been able to deal 10 Infect long before the point where Dan was finally able to combo off. But if Tom hadn't had green mana untapped, Dan would have killed him on turn 4.
Exactly.
Well, he would have killed him as soon as he drew the red mana, which was what, turn 5 or 6?
Yeah. He had the potential to do it on turn 4, but...
Right, with the red off the top. Interestingly, if Tom is psychic and just goes for the Infect kill as soon as possible, he might actually win that game.
Right, draws a Gataxian Probe.
Yeah. Yeah, if he knows there's no second red mana, if he knows Dan has the twin but not the red mana, would he just tap down?
It's
a pretty big gamble, right? There's a bunch of red sources in that deck.
There is, but it's also a situation where, maybe Tom seeing that and looking at his own hand says, well, my chances to win this game, if I don't win now, are just going to get worse.
Yeah, right. Well, they would get a lot better if he'd been the one who'd drawn a 4th land.
Yeah, you look at a game like that, and the really telling point was that Tom left a lot of mana on the table.
Mm-hmm. He just didn't spend it.
Just didn't spend mana, because he had to leave the mana up, and then Dan had the opportunity to use it.
Really gotta get our backup match to cooperate more, not ending at the same time.
Yeah, really. Let's see, they're
spent a lot of time on the
hands
double
over
shuffle
there.
cam. It's really a quad shuffle cam. Looks like they've just started. I saw Hayne tap 1 mana and confidently place a permanent into play. That's got to be good for him. It's probably an amulet.
Probably is. Here we go.
And it was an amulet. Marshall Sutcliffe, what do you got going on?
I got a quick one for you here, gentlemen. We're going to Game 3 on Robbie Schmidt versus Jesse Moulton. Jesse Moulton with Obzon equalizes against the Affinity player, Robbie.
Thanks.
Now he has to try to beat Affinity on the play, but a little bit easier to do.
Simian Spirit Guide and 2 amulets means you can transmute Teleria West off of 1 Teleria West.
Yep, that's pretty amazing. So
there's the Summoner's Pact.
Comes into play, you stack both the amulet triggers.
Yep.
The first one resolve, add mana, then let the second one resolve.
Exactly.
Come into play untapped land would have produced less mana there.
Oh yeah, it doesn't trigger. Get no amulet triggers if your land's normal.
So imagine if Hayne had a double land here, he could produce a lot more mana. So that's probably what he's looking for.
Well, he could have transmuted for it, right? Lands have 0 CMC. He transmuted for Summoner's Pact.
That's true.
You never actually see them transmute for lands.
Has kept no land.
He kept 0 lands?
Or maybe he
didn't
has
he?
just lands that bounce immediately when they come into play.
Wow. Mulligan into a 0 lander. And now Hayne's got double amulet with a bounce land. Makes 1 mana, makes 3 mana. He's going to get to 5 mana. 6.
Hayne with Summoner's Pact and
he gets to play a Primeval Titan. Oh, really? Yeah. Doesn't he need the 6 mana? Isn't it bounce land made 2/4? Yeah, yes, it's out. He needs the 6 mana.
But he's going to have plenty of mana here. for anything that Steven does on his turn, since he's got a
Oh, right. I mean, all these lands come in untapped.
yeah.
Does he go Slayer Stronghold for haste? Or no, he's going Growth Chamber.
He's going for big mana here.
Wow.
Trigger, tap.
Oh my goodness. Trigger tap.
Trigger, tap. So that's
Just 8. Casual.
8 more mana. Now, does he have another Primeval Titan?
He must.
He's going to bounce 2 lands.
Yep. Hasn't actually shuffled his library, so yes, he has more. Wow, 8 mana is transmute with 5 left.
Right. And so what is he transmuting for?
He can't get another Primeval Titan. What is he transmuting
Unless he
for?
has a mana floating that we missed somewhere.
That's possible.
This is
It's an
very
opponent
strange game of Magic. So
who
you have to
mulliganed
imagine,
into a 0 lander, or at least a 0 playable lander.
you have to imagine that Steven Speck has an amazing hand if he hits just 1 card. That's why you keep a hand like that, right? So you
Wow, how
say-
far did he mulligan? He hasn't discarded yet.
He hasn't discarded.
Looks like he's got 6 or 7 though. He probably kept 5 or 6
Yeah.
on the draw.
On the draw.
On the draw makes it easier to keep, right?
You know, but maybe that's it. He hits 1 land, and all of a sudden he can, you know, put a Primeval Titan into play. We know this deck can do that.
Yeah. Now I think Hayne is on 5 mana floating. He's trying to figure out what he wants to pact for. He's already. Did he pact once this turn already? He did, right?
He did, yeah. So you see him leave the.
Yeah, he has to
green
be
and blue
careful
mana in play.
about paying for pacts. All right, it goes Pact of Negation,
Yep.
which makes sense. He wants to play some defense.
Of course, he can't cast it this turn.
No, he
Then
can't
you
pay
get
for the
pact
Summoner's
trouble.
Pact and he doesn't have 8 set up for next upkeep. This Primeval Titan does not have haste, will not be attacking. I don't know, he made a bunch of mana there. What's he spending it on? Still has 5 floating, right?
He does have
Just
5
says go.
float.
I'm a little bit surprised he didn't get the Slayer Stronghold there.
Well, I think it's in his hand.
Oh, if it's in his hand, then he can't play it. You're right. So Steven
There
Speck
we see what Steven Speck might have.
does
Yes.
finally draw a land, and he had an amulet. I'm going to guess there's a bounce land in hand.
Yeah. I think he's probably got basically the rest of the combo in his hand.
All
Yeah,
of
I see
Alex's
a
mana is tapped to pay for the Summoner's Pact. I see that's Sunholm in Alex's hand, right?
Yeah, it seems like
I don't see the Slayer Stronghold.
Alex probably has a very powerful line that involves tutoring up lands and doing what the deck does. He also just has the line of play a blue land, and now I have 2 counters up
Right.
to fight you. There's Sunholm.
Yeah, Sunholm ends 2 lands with 2 amulets in play. Seems like it ought to be enough mana to activate Sunholm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, check. I think we stay here to see how this game plays out for another turn
I mean, I think
before we
this
go
one-
back to the other one. It just can't last much longer one way or the other. I mean, I guess, does Alex just have this all locked up?
I think Alex has it locked up. I don't see a way that Steven's going to get back into this
Yeah,
game
not
without
through
any counters.
Swan Song plus,
Yeah, right.
not through
Yeah,
Swan
and
Song
he,
plus
and he
Pact
goes
of
and gets
Negation.
a Ghost Quarter.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So
Oh, he's going to Ghost Quarter the Mana Confluence?
I think he maybe has it so that he can Ghost Quarter a double land when it comes into play, so that it can't be played again.
Ah, yeah, because Ghost Quarter Mana Confluence wouldn't really work. He would get a forest, and he'd have that. All right, Alex seems like he's got this under control. Let's go back to the Martell match.
It looks like these two will probably be going to game 3.
Sure looks like these guys are headed to game 3.
Looks like somebody's looking for a land right now.
All right. Dan Lanthier up a game with Splinter Twin. Yep. Bolt your bird. Well, maybe it's not a bird anymore, but 22 years and counting. That Beta Lightning Bolt has been bolting birds for
Right.
bolting turn 1 mana creatures for at least 21
When
years.
you're a lightning bolt, a bird and a noble hierarch look pretty much the same.
Could be an elf. Doesn't really matter. To have a tap ability that makes mana Kill it.
Ooh, Tom has a Spellskite in his hand.
And he's got at least Pendelhaven, so definitely has a second land drop.
Yep. And he will stick that Spellskite, I think. Oh, he's wondering about whether he should get a Glistener Elf into play and start hammering away at Dan's life.
Yeah, I mean, Dan can't combo him off right away, but another Lightning Bolt would kill the Glistener Elf,
Right.
will not kill Spellskite.
Yeah. He also has a Blighted Agent, though, so he could play the Blighted Agent and then look next turn to play Spellskite and...
Okay.
Glistener Elf. I like this play from Tom.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't like Glistener Elf because he just felt so inefficient mana-wise.
Right. He could have held up maybe a defensive spell, but it doesn't look like he has one. Looks like his hand is... Did Tom mulligan this game? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total cards right now on his second turn. He might have mulliganed to 5.
Wow. Yeah, and there's the Flame Slash, which would also have killed a Spellskite.
Absolutely.
And with Glistener Elf, still seems reasonable.
Now Tom faced the same decision again.
No third land, no third mana.
And now he has to fear a land and a Snapcaster Mage being able to kill his Glistener Elf.
What do you think of Glistener Elf instead of Spellskite right there?
It indicates to me that maybe there's a card in Tom's hand to defend the Glistener Elf. I would normally want to play the Spellskite.
Yeah, he is. That untapped mana represents things.
It does, yeah. Makes it hard for Dan to go right after it. Dan has the combo in his hand. I think I saw...
I definitely saw the twin.
Yeah. So...
All right.
Tom gets to find out.
Let's see what's going on.
Big. This is big.
Oh,
so
Pestermite Splinter Twin.
And Dispel, which means Tom knows he can stick his Spellskite.
True.
And he knows he can attack with his Glistener Elf, and the worst that can happen is that it trades with Pestermite.
All true. Which would be then the only untapping creatures. He wouldn't even be all that sad.
Right?
I mean, he might normally be annoyed to trade away his last Infect creature. I mean, he'd still be annoyed by it. But.
I think you will see him not do that, because he wants to make sure he has the Infect creature to punish Dan before Dan gets to a point where he can catch up. So we'll probably see the Spellskite come into play here.
Well, if he attacks with Glistener Elf, if Dan summons a Pestermite, he can actually use Pendelhaven and blocks with it. Pendelhaven would kill the Pestermite, and then he doesn't need the Spellskite just yet.
If he doesn't block with it, and he just taps a land, then Tom can't play the Spellskite, and he's going to lose on the next turn.
You're right.
Unless he has Vines of the Vastwood, which Dan doesn't know.
In fact, Tom, with no third land drop, might actually want to play the Spellskite pre-combat.
Right.
Because if Dan just, in the middle of combat, randomly decides now's the time to play this Pestermite, turns off Spellskite.
He's in trouble, yeah. Tom thinking, he's giving away a ton of information by doing this, and he knows that. Although he does have a spell.
Does he have a Pierce?
It's a Pierce, but
that's why he was leaving up last turn.
Dan can actually win the game right now, he just doesn't know it. Tom relying on that, knowing he can't make that play against what's in my deck. So I'm just going to play it this way.
So you're saying if Dan had gone in combat Pestermite tapping your breeding pool,
the game was over.
Then he just wins.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Yeah. There's no way Dan. I mean, it's such a psychic play.
Right.
Only possible with perfect knowledge of both hands.
That's part of, I think, why you saw Tom play that so slowly, is he knew that he was dead to that play, and he had to think, well, why would he ever make that play?
Yeah, no reason.
Figured out that he couldn't.
Mid-combat, summon the Pestermite, but not block with it, no one makes that play.
Yeah.
That play gets destroyed if Tom just has a land in his hand.
Dan has drawn an Engineered Explosives, which is pretty good.
Oh, interesting.
You put it on 2.
Yeah, he wants to got to deal with the Spellskite.
But now Tom knows exactly what's going on over there. And if he has growth spells enough to win here, but it doesn't look like he has enough mana or enough growth spells to do that.
Right, well, Dan does have a Dispel, which Tom knows about. So it takes a lot of growth spells to get through here.
Right, and Tom has a Spell Pierce, but since Dan's a little land flooded, by the time he gets to the point of playing the Splinter Twin, he's going to have a mana up for that Dispel.
Right. All right, Tom knows he's going to lose his Spellskite. Probably end step. He knows Dan's got the combo.
Tom has a pretty good draw here, but I think Dan has exactly the right ingredients to beat it, and it's going to be tough for Tom to figure out a way around that. Tom doesn't have any big growth spells.
Okay, I was about to say, he's got what? Apostle's Blessing, Spell Pierce.
He might have a Wild Defiance. And a Spell Pierce.
I mean, he's got the Pendlehaven, so he hits for 2.
That's a good start.
Dan up to 3 poison. Wild Defiance is, okay, second land, and it's an Inkmoth Nexus.
That's good for Tom, but...
Yeah, he could, in theory, have tapped out for Wild Defiance there, but he chose to Pendlehaven and leave up 2 mana instead.
Right.
Which does leave up both the Apostle's Blessing and the Spell Pierce, so that makes a lot of sense.
So he can preserve his elf, but...
Yeah, I mean, maybe if he had a targeting effect, he would care about the Wild Defiance more, but only Apostle's Blessing triggers it right now.
Right, the Wild Defiance would protect the Glistener Elf from everything except that Flame jab, or Flame Slash, which a Snapcaster would be able to cast, so... Now...
Serum Visions is the draw for Dan Lanthier.
And you gotta think that Dan is gonna be tempted here to just
Serum Visions,
kill Tom.
right?
So,
Yeah, I think you Serum Visions and then plan to go Pestermite Untapped Twin. You've got to Dispel. Hope that's good enough. It usually will be, right?
It's kind of the hand you construct. It's kind of the situation you want. You want to be able to play your combo and then have the 1 mana counter to defend it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, Serum Visions. He's got an island in hand to be his land drop for this turn.
Yeah.
Tom deciding whether to respond to the Serum Visions?
This might be a bit of a... he's wondering whether he should try to Spell Pierce it here. He knows that the Dispel is there, so the Spell Pierce isn't going to stop anything the next turn. What I can do is buy him turn here if Dan decides
Dan just says okay. Dan doesn't need the Serum Visions.
Right.
I guess Tom doesn't know about the island Dan's holding?
I think he does, actually.
Does he?
Yeah, because his draw phases have been Engineer Explosive Serum Visions since the Gataxian Probe.
Okay.
So, Tom sort of knows that he's looking at trouble here. He knows Dan has it. And Dan draws a land, looks like a Misty Rainforest.
One on the top.
We don't know
one
what
on the
they
bottom.
are. We need
Did
to
not
look
see
at
either one of them. Land drop.
Dan Lanthier looking like he's in really good shape here. And he will play the Pestermite on upkeep. And what's he going to target?
Fine question. Glistener Elf? Inkmoth? Breeding Pool? All four choices do something.
Yeah, it's true. I think Breeding Pool is probably the most aggressive play, and Glistener Elf obviously the most defensive play. I think Glistener Elf means that Tom almost certainly can't produce enough Infect this turn to kill him.
Breeding Pool takes a lot of stuff away from Tom too. Takes that Spell Pierce out of play.
And you know, one of the cards that you would normally fear there would be a Vines of the Vastwood. Dan has a Dispel.
Right.
And Vines taps 2 lands if he wants to get the power out of it as well.
Apostle's Blessing. If he taps Glistener Elf, he opens up Apostle's Blessing too.
He does. But Apostle's Blessing doesn't increase the power of the elf, so it's not that scary.
No, but it can be played off the next. It means you can't block it with Pestermite.
Right.
Apostle's Blessing into Become Immense is game.
Dan still has the Dispel.
All right, but Tom has the Spell Pierce.
That's true.
Yeah, Apostle's Blessing into... Yeah, tapping Glistener Elf seems risky there.
Right, you're right.
Because Apostle's Blessing into Become Immense with Spell Pierce backup would win.
Yep. And Tom does have enough stuff in his graveyard.
Yeah, I think if you're doing this upkeep, you're tapping land. And the fact that Tom's tapping that Breeding Pool makes me think it was the target. Was the target. Tom doesn't use it for anything.
I suspect he added a color. You can't float into your draw step.
No, it doesn't. If you're not spending that mana upkeep, it doesn't do anything.
Looks like
Marshall
Tom destroyed
Sutcliffe.
another creature there.
Got an update for us?
Quick update, Robbie Schmidt with Affinity into the semifinals. He defeats
right.
Jesse Molton with Obzon thanks to our old friend Arcbound Ravager.
Arcbound Ravager, is that a good Magic card?
Still good.
Still good after all these years.
Looks like Tom did draw Becoming Immense.
Wow.
So the tapping of that blue mana is going to be the difference here, because
Wow.
otherwise Tom has him. He can just play the Apostle's Blessing.
Blessing into
Glistener
Become
Elf
Immense
through.
with Spell Pierce backup?
Yeah, but that
Jeez.
tapped breeding pool, Tom's just got to be looking at that
Oh,
pool.
so close. And he knows about the Dispel.
And he knows about the Splinter Twin, so what he has to do here is bluff his way into another turn.
How, though?
Yeah, the only cards he could have would be Vines of the Mastwood.
All right, Glistener Elf attacks. Dan could block.
That might be the only chance that Tom has. That
Yeah.
Dan chooses to block.
Oh, yeah, he's hoping for it.
But with no blue mana available,
I
Dan
know.
just can't be afraid at all.
I agree. He's got his Dispel, and he knows Dispel's going to work because there's no Spell Pierce threat. If there was blue mana untapped for Tom, then Dan would have to live in fear of Become Immense with Spell Pierce backup, but there isn't.
This Inkmoth Nexus is an island. It's a very different game.
Totally agree. Marshall, you got another one for us?
Yeah, I got a quick one for you here. Alexander Hain went up against Steven Speck in the Amulet Mirror. Steven's a specialist, but Alex defeated him 2-0.
Oh. Wow.
You're in Alex's house now. He's on to the semis.
All right, well, there's the Become Immense targeting Glistener Elf, but Dan has
of
the
course,
Dispel,
plays
of
the Dispel,
course.
and Tom left staring at one colorless mana. Tom has to sort of go for it. His only win there is that Dan forgets that he has a Dispel.
And Apostle's Blessing, printed after Vines of Vastwood, only targets creatures you control. Cannot you do the Vines of Vastwood trick with an Apostle's Blessing? R&D figured that one out. Got the template into a way that makes more sense, but not the template Tom needed here. Combo kill, Dan Lanthier. Wow, the Canadians are crushing so far.
Really
Hain through to the semis. Robbie Schmidt is from Canada, through to the semis. And now Dan Lanthier through to the semis. This top 8 started with 4 Canadians, 3 Americans, and a German. We're now down to 3 Canadians and the turbo match. Either Florian Koch or Daniel Ward is going to join these 3 guys. It'll be Affinity versus Amulet on one side, and it'll be Splinter Twin versus TBD. Okay.
Although I don't want to count Boggles out. I think being on the play and those discard spells are really going to be the difference.
Sure. So you got Florian Koch?
Yeah.
I'll buy that.
I'm going to be rooting, though, for Daniel Ward because
You like the Boggles?
I like the diversity here, the different deck. As you see, it looks like he is going to fire off a discard spell that first turn. There it is.
Yeah, Thoughtseize. What do we got?
There
Two
are
creatures
two
and 3
creatures.
enchantments.
That-
That hand is super not vulnerable to Thoughtseize.
Right. And it
Very
looks like
resilient.
he might have to take Hyena Umbra here. No, he'll probably take a creature. Yep, he
Yeah, you
does.
take a creature. Now you need Liliana if you're Florian Koch.
Yep.
Green white lands.
There's
Hyena
protection
Umbra.
from Liliana right there. The Hyena Umbra. And no
Does it work?
third turn play.
Does the
believe it
Umbra actually work versus
Oh.
a sacrifice effect?
I guess it says when it's destroyed. so
Yeah, I
probably
don't think it
not.
works versus a sacrifice effect, but you know what does work is Dryad Arbor. Dryad Arbor takes one for the team here.
Yep.
So Daniel Ward is well aware of Liliana as the thing that can kill his giant monster that he's created. We're up to what, 4/4 trample lifelink first strike? Oh, Path on Dryad Arbor, okay.
So there's the Liliana.
And there's the Liliana.
Okay, so now Daniel Ward on the spot has to get a creature out. Oh, let's meet down to the spell schedule.
It's not a wall. It may be 0/4, but it is not a wall. Spell side can turn sideways, can kill Liliana.
So what you're going to see here is Liliana ticks up,
Yeah, both players discard a land.
and I think you're going to see a Rhino probably. Oh no, he's got
Batterskull?
over there.
Which one? It's got a, yeah, Rhino.
So now we have another enchantment, I think, for the spell.
Doesn't he have the
here.
Unflinching Courage?
He should have
Which
Unflinching
is even trample.
Ooh,
Oh, Daybreak Coronet,
Coronet.
even better. So
Spread these out and read 'em.
5 power. Oh, it doesn't trample over for Liliana, but
Right. So he saves his Liliana so that he can edict away the
Edict, yeah.
creature.
Yep.
And now it's Batter Skull versus nothing. I'm
Skull
sure
versus
Daniel
no
Ward has a lot
creatures.
of life points right now. Some
3 enchantments. Bunch of life.
I think he's probably going to take the Courage here. Nope, takes the Umbra.
Interesting.
It's the thing that protects a creature, I guess.
Sure.
Makes sense.
Lingering Souls.
It's starting to look real bad
Yeah,
for
this
Daniel
is how
Ward here.
Obzon wins this. He got to activate Liliana twice.
He sure did.
Half to the Dryad Arbor, 2 hexproof creatures, but both of them died to the same Liliana.
And there it is.
Yeah.
He gets a Gavany Township, activates it, and that's game.
So Florian Koch, the lone German in this top 8, the lone European, really.
Yeah, that.
He and his buddies are on a massive road trip. They're going to hit this Grand Prix. They're going to hit a Grand Prix in Miami. They're going to round out the month with a Grand Prix in Cleveland.
Yep.
Quite the road trip.
Are they driving the whole way? Or are they going to fly?
I can't imagine.
They
That
got
guy's
to
got to
fly,
be
right?
flying.
You can't draft while
It
you're
would take like
driving,
the
so-
whole week to get to Miami. You want to spend that week on the beach.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so turn 1 Glade Cover Scout, and there's the Inquisition, and there's another Scout, and you see 2 Ethereal Armor. So I suspect he'll take an Armor here, because the double Ethereal Armor immediately makes a 5/5.
Right.
And
Oh, he's like hexproof creatures. Got to take the hexproof creature.
that's reasonable. That means he
Especially
has
if he's got a Liliana, right?
Yeah, probably.
All right. Well, Liliana's not here yet. Oh, fetch land and the
The
Rancor.
Abrupt Decay on an Ethereal Armor to prevent.
That fetch land though can go get Dryad Arbor.
Sure can.
So even Liliana can't nail this Glade Cover Scout.
So he can play Liliana the next turn if he has a path. There's Thoughtseize. He has a look, and he says he got
nothing. All right, on to game 3.
Boggles on the play.
Boggles on the play there was pretty good. I don't think Koch even had the Liliana, but the insurance policy was in play. While both players being told wind up mulliganing to 5 cards for this game 3.
And
Yeah, all right, back it up just a little bit. We'll slow it down to watch the game start. There is Leyline of Sanctity, so no discard spells for Florian Koch. Daniel Ward has defended himself against those. Only Dryad Arbor as his
so
turn
we
1
don't-
land drop, though.
look at this.
The Hierarch
double Hierarchs.
beatdown plan?
And so, are we going to see the Enchantress here? No. Oh, immediately.
Blade cover with a Rancor.
Oh, and you know what else targets? Liliana.
Liliana
That
targets.
players. So
Leyline of Sanctity shuts it all off.
looking really, really good for that. Leyline of Sanctity is great technology. Of course, people will usually sideboard anything they have that can get rid of enchantments, but
Ooh, Unflinching Courage. Now we're up to 5 power, Trample Lifelink against a couple of Noble Hierarchs. Is this Boggles deck going through to the semis?
this Boggles deck looks really
The
good. right now.
Obzon Menace is going to get knocked out.
And
He
here
goes
comes
ahead to get
Dryad Arbor.
Dryad Arbor. Join the team.
Let's get in. This is
The other Obzon deck in this top 8 already lost.
Will we see the King Fall, the top of the format, the one that showed up the most, already out? There's a Wilt. Is that a Wiltleaf Leash?
No.
Oh, that's destroy all enchantments.
Yes, it
and Gain
is.
X life. So pretty good. The duress now can be targeted. He's wondering if he's going to take away that ley line. He is.
Wow.
So that was a really,
In from the
great-
sideboard, the one of destroys all enchantments. Good grief.
The name of that card is
Curse of Death's Hold.
This one's Fracturing Gust is the kill all enchantments card.
and
Curse of Death's Hold.
now. Wow, that's
What just
probably,
happened?
That's almost certainly the game.
What does Boggles do now?
He has an O2 creature that can survive that, but that creature is vulnerable to removal. This looks like Boggles is done. Curse of Death's Hold. Wow. That's the kind of card
Florian
that you
Koch
put in
had
the sideboard.
Sideboard doing work.
Curse of Death's Hold really, I mean, in this format, it locks out Infect creatures. It locks out both of the creatures in Splinter Twin. They're either die or they have 0 power.
Unbelievable.
So a really, really powerful card there. Costs 5 mana, but cool sideboard technology.
Absolutely.